Hi, everyone. Good afternoon and or good morning, depending on where you are in the US. Welcome to the Blueprint for Deposit Growth webinar. Today, we are going to talk about how banks and credit unions can use data to help drive deposit growth. And we are going to focus on three topics in the next 30 minutes. First, we're going to talk about what's happening in the ever-changing deposit marketplace. Then we're going to dive into data, and we're going to specifically focus initially on how data can be used to help optimize your strategy, both your product and offer strategy and the geographic markets you're pursuing. Then we'll pivot and talk about marketing and talk about how data can be used to help optimize your targeting and drive a better marketing return on investment. Quickly introducing myself, I am Don Chapman from Powerlytics. We are a financial data provider. We have developed a unique database of IRS tax returns covering 150 million US households. From that tax database, we offer 1,500 unique financial data variables, including things like accurate data on any US household's income, its total investable assets, of course, its deposits across institutions. Today, I'm excited to have Jamie Fairbanks from CD Valet. She heads up partnerships for CD Valet. Join us on the webinar. Uh, CD Valet is a very cool company and a powerful platform that provides fantastic offers for consumers looking for a great return on their deposits and a great opportunity and a great marketplace for banks and credit unions looking to drive deposit growth. And Jamie will probably deny this, but she's a bit of a deposit expert as well. So we're going to dive in and ask her a bunch of questions about what's happening in the marketplace. Jamie, before I introduce you, a couple of housekeeping items. Number one, and Joe, our colleague, is popping this in the chat. This is a live webinar, so if you have questions, please pop those in the chat, and we'll try to answer those as we go along. We'll leave some time at the end for additional questions, and of course, we'll send a recording. We'll email a recording of this webinar to everyone who has attended after the call so you can share that with your colleagues or anyone who might be interested. So with that, Jamie, welcome from beautiful sunny Seattle. I'm in rainy Washington, D.C. today. Great to have you on the webinar. If you wouldn't mind, let's just kick this off. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, do a bit better job talking about what CD Valet is and what you guys do than I just did. And then maybe talk a bit about what you're seeing in the CD marketplace that banks and credit unions should be focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey everyone, thanks for all being here, and thanks Don for having us. I'm super excited for today's conversation. As Don mentioned, I'm Jamie Fairbanks on the partnerships team over here at CD Valet. I've spent my career working with all types of financial firms, whether that's wealth managers, RIAs, banks, credit unions, you can name it. And my focus has always been helping those firms grow their assets and acquire new customers through marketing, technology, and data. Here at CD Valet, I get to work with FIs of all sizes, helping them figure out their deposit growth strategy, how they're positioning themselves on the platform, how they're bringing in new clients, and really just how they're using CDs as a smart tool for funding growth. So, as the name has it, we work with FIs to really help with their CD products. So it's a full CD retail marketplace, connecting consumers to transact directly with institutions. So we're really the source of truth. We have over 40,000 rates from over 5,000 institutions. And so we're super excited to be here today, dig into how we're helping those FIs grow, and especially lean into some of the cool data that we have to help these FIs with that. So I guess the biggest thing that I think we're seeing in today's deposit marketplace is that depositors now know that they have options and they're going digital to explore those options. They're shopping, comparing, making decisions based on rate, the experience that they're having with those institutions, and the trust that they're building with those FIs. So what that means is that visibility matters more than ever. If consumers can't find you, they simply can't choose you. And the institutions paying attention to this are asking themselves, where are the consumers discovering us, and how are we showing up in the right places with obviously attractive offerings as well. And with consumers being more informed and more, I'd say, motivated than ever, they're reading headlines, always tracking what the heck is going on with the Fed. And that curiosity is driving them to kind of shop depending on their needs. So not at their own institution that they may, already be with, but across the market. And so it really is driving FIs to position themselves well with their current and prospective clients on ensuring that their offerings are valuable to those consumers. So that's a little bit
No, great, Jamie. Yeah, that was super helpful. Lots of great insights. So you talked about really some changes, and maybe just overall, how have you seen the marketplace change over the last few years?
Yeah, I think that it's exposing a lot of FIs as to what's underneath the hood. Right now, we surveyed all 5,000 institutions on our site, and right now, the digital component matters more than ever. 66% of FIs on our site can't actually open a CD digitally. That means that they may be out there, but consumers can't actually transact with those institutions. And not only that, there's definitely the digital component. But what we're also seeing is that the customer service aspect, although it seems obvious, is still as true to today. So when you look at it in the deposit marketplace, yeah, you might be there, but once a consumer sees your rate, okay, now what? So it's making you think a little bit more about what's underneath the hood. One, having the technology, having competitive rates, and then of course, the ability, to actually get those consumers across the finish line once they're actually seeing your rate. So it's exposing a lot of FIs into what their offerings are, the experience that they have. Reviews are such a huge part of this. People are relying on other consumers to share their own experience. So what we've kind of seen is there used to be, the top 8 internet banks that dominated the market. What CD Valet is trying to do is bring, more visibility to those FIs that do have better offerings, better customer service, people that pick up the phone.
Right.
So I think like overall in the deposit marketplace, we're seeing the need to actually show up in terms of, rates of what we're seeing in the deposit marketplace for CDs specifically. The last few years have been quite interesting. I would say, that back in 2023, when CD Valet launched, we were seeing a ton of fives, right? And as the Fed cuts rates, what happens is, FIs are needing to pivot to align with, what's going on in the market. And so we've seen kind of a fluctuation between long-term, rates going up, and we'll dive much more into that later. But also, for when, FIs think rates are going up, shorter terms may be, more attractive.
So Jamie's going to demo the platform in just a minute, so you'll be able to see how all works in action and see what's going on in the marketplace. So Jamie, I think you covered this, but if there's anything else to add, what really separates the institutions that are successful in attracting deposits versus those who are not? Is there anything else you would add to that? What you just kind of walked through?
Yeah, I think that, one of the biggest things in terms of the visibility component is, I think institutions thinking about where they're actually spending their marketing dollars is really important. So if you think about it from like a pure efficiency standpoint, your marketing dollars go a lot further when you're placing yourself in front of consumers who are already in a buying mindset on a platform that they already trust, rather than, spending to try to create awareness and, 100% yourself. So the difference between fishing where the fish are versus hoping that they eventually swim to you is kind of how I put it. So a lot of institutions are still trying to find, consumers themselves.
Yep.
investing in their own campaigns, building out their own digital presence, which is all very, very important. But having
Yep.
a multifaceted approach when you're building your own SEO strategy, but really partnering with platforms who can, help support your strategy as well. So it's about being in all the right places where the consumers actually are versus, trying to spend all the money in the world to try to bring them to you.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I was never an SEO expert, but I thought I knew about it a few years ago. And now I always go into that AI button to search.
I was
So
gonna
so
say,
like
yeah.
yeah, like next 18 to 24 months, like what do you see changing? And maybe that's one of the areas, but would love to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think there's this new AEO component,
Yeah.
right? So as we look ahead, the biggest change in the deposit marketplace is fundamentally how consumers are actually discovering and shopping for those financial products. Personal finance is one of the top categories where consumers are leaning into AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, all of those search engines. Um, and that's going to definitely shift how consumers are finding products from these
Yep.
institutions. So yes, SEO will always be a component, but then now there's this AEO component where you need to show up on
Yep.
the different sources when a consumer searches, where can I get the best CD rate right now? So if you're not visible in those engines, you're essentially invisible. And that's why partnering with certain marketplaces, they're putting a lot of investment in showing up
Yep.
as an AI visibility play. So partnering with some of these marketplaces is a really strategic way for an FI to kind of lean into the AEO and kind of join on the wagon that everyone's now
Yeah.
on.
Makes sense. Some great insights. Appreciate you sharing those. Hey Jamie, if you don't mind, why don't I know you have a couple of demos, maybe just start with the platform and show everybody, because I think everybody listening to this probably, has some money that they could, get a better return on. So we can
Yeah,
start with that and let
absolutely.
everybody see it.
Perfect. Let me know once you're able to see my
I can
screen.
see it.
Okay, perfect. This is CD Valet, so a little bit of background. So CD Valet was actually built by a financial institution, Seattle Bank up in Seattle, Washington, back in 2023. And the idea came to be the bank's CEO, when they were offering some of the top rates in the market, to help supplement a loan portfolio purchase. And through that experience, uh, they explored the different listing sites that were out there and recognized, one, you had to pay to play, and second, being that most community institutions couldn't, compete with the top 8 internet bank marketing budgets. And so, being in the, land of Expedia and Amazon, we said, hey, let's create a two-sided marketplace. One, for consumers to see all the great rates that are out there from community institutions nationwide and in their local market, but then also drive those consumers to FIs and drive deposits and new customers and new members for those institutions. So when you come to CD Valet, we have featured in all. So all CDs are going to be, we go out, we have a rate survey team. They go and scan all FIs nationwide. And if they post their rates publicly, you will be listed on CD Valet. So I encourage everyone on the call after this, check out if you're already on there. But we give consumers the ability to see all. We have filters, whether they're looking for a specific term, maybe they're looking for no penalty. But we also give the consumer the ability to shop, whether it's nationwide or in their local market. So if they want to see rates that are available to them in Florida, they can go in, enter in their zip code, and they will specifically see those FIs that are at least chartered in Florida. Now, when you partner with us, you get premium placement by being featured in our featured section. So this is where you'll only be listed with our other partners, and you get access to this Open Now button where consumers will click Open Now and they're redirected to whatever link that you provide us. So these are retail core deposits. You essentially give us the link and we pass along those consumers that are coming here directly to your institution. What's great is we know that not every institution can, open nationwide. So if you are looking to drive deposits in a specific market, you have the ability to just show up in those states. So someone would have to put in their zip code in order to see your offer, meaning you're getting qualified clicks. Or you have the ability to further, everything is state-based, except if you want to, of course, lean into county, city, or, zip codes, then you have the ability to list those right in there. So you're able to turn this off and on. We like to say like a faucet, which is part of the reason CDs can be so strong, a part of an institution to be able to go out, raise the deposits you need, and shut those off once you've hit your deposit goal.
Hey, Jamie, we actually got our first question. I can
Yeah.
see it in the chat. What does it actually look like when an institution joins CD Valet? How quickly do they start seeing results?
Yeah. So like I said, if they're already on CD Valet, it's that much easier because we just pop the link into their Open Now. We work with them to be able, to figure out which, offerings do they want to offer a CD Valet exclusive offering. So we work through that. Really, we can work however fast the institution needs. So implementation time is typically less than a week. We have a diligence package and all of that, but results can happen immediate. We, have had an institution raise 20% of their total asset size, which their asset size was 65 million in 5 days, because they went out with a really competitive offering and consumers saw it, and they were able to meet their deposit goals quick. So kind of going off that, there's 3 different strategies that we kind of see from FIs. You can either be like a consistent high rate payer. You can be more opportunistic. So let's say you want to get in and out, kind of like that FI. You have either, a set deposit goal, and once you hit that, you can shut it off and you won't be listed in the featured section. And then also we have some FIs use it as a contingency funding source, because you can really turn it off and on. So in terms of like ease and implementation and the ability to manage it, it's, kind of to cater with whatever you're seeing on the deposit front.
Very cool. I know I'm not getting 4.35 on my money, Jamie, so that's pretty impressive.
So you might need to pop down to Florida.
I know, exactly. Or go on CD Valet.
Yeah.
Now you have another website for FIs, right? That kind of helps them strategically understand the marketplace.
Correct. Yeah. So because we have 40,000 rates, we've built an intelligence tool to help those FIs with their deposit strategy. This is just kind of an overall look at all of the rates here. You'll see just under 5,000 institutions, 40,000 rates. And then you can also see the breakdown of what the top rate in the country is, as well as what's going to put you in the top 1%. But even more so, you can take a look at, type of FI. So if you want to take a look at, 12 months from credit unions, and then maybe we even label that down to, or distill that down to Florida, you'll see the breakdown of what's going to put you competitive in the state of Florida with other credit unions. This one I think is really, really cool, just because what you're looking at here is real consumer behavior. So actual browsing data from consumers actively shopping on CD Valet. So what this tells us is, where the consumer mindset is today, what terms they're gravitating towards. So as you can see, the 12-month being 70%, that's a highly sought out um, term right now. But, on the other side, it's, you're seeing kind of a shorter term preference, which tells you that consumers are staying flexible and keeping a close eye on where
Hey,
rates are headed.
hey, Jamie, we have a message from one of the listeners. We have a limited charter and would only be able to offer it to part of one of our states. Would there be a way to have this target on a county level?
Yeah, so this is how we can accommodate that today. So we'll only list you in the state, but we have this restrictions drop down where we can for example, Dort, they list out their Florida counties. So that has been successful for them in terms of making sure that consumers know that they have to be in one of those counties in Florida. We also have certain opportunities with our email subscriber base where we collect zip codes and we can further target via email to those subscribers that are uh, in the zip codes that you provide.
Very good. Well, Jamie, very, very cool. Great tool, both to find great offers and to, great data to help drive the strategy. I think we'll pivot now. You talked about targeted marketing not being the only answer, right? That being on a great platform like CD Valet is critical to driving deposit growth. But now we'll talk about targeting, right? And Powerlytics has some unique data that I want to talk about and tools
Yeah.
that can help with that. If I can figure out how to share my screen, we will be in business here. So hopefully that's visible. Um, so just to reiterate, kind of what I said at the beginning, Powerlytics is a alternative data provider. We built a database of IRS tax returns that covers 150 million US households. Our data, and you'll see we marry it with some PII, but our data in its native form is at the zip 4 level. Those are those 4 digits at the end of your zip code that nobody memorizes unless they work at Powerlytics, but that's very granular. That is about 3 to 4 households on average. So we can tell you what a household's income looks like at the zip 4 level, what their total investable assets look like, and what their deposit data looks like, right? So it's a very accurate estimate of their deposits. And then we have about 1,500 total data variables that can be used for a variety of purposes. But the way we work with credit unions and banks is we help them understand deposits share of wallet, right? You have a member or customer with $10,000 on deposit. Is that all they have, or can we see two, three, $500,000 across various institutions? Prospect targeting is another powerful area, and I'm going to demonstrate a tool in just a second that will show how that can be done. And then we can actually take those 1,500 data variables. We'll work with the bank or a credit union on a free custom POC, proof of concept, where we'll actually build a deposit growth targeting model for you using all of our data variables, and those have proven to be very successful. Because Jamie focused on the Florida market, I quickly, while she was speaking, pulled some data about the state of Florida and created these maps. And so this is the state of Florida, and this is the average, what we call interest-bearing or deposit assets by county. I thought this was pretty interesting. This is Collier County. That's where Naples, Florida is. The average household has almost $1 million of deposit assets. You can see this kind of Palm Beach area and then Martin County. Those are in the 600,000 range. We have some others that are pretty high, right? So those really affluent folks can be tough to attract with an offer. So I'm going to zero in and show you what Orange County looks like, which is where Orlando is. And you can see these are all the counties that the average interest-bearing assets or deposit assets are at least 200,000, so a pretty significant number. The white space are areas that do not have 200,000 of average interest-bearing assets. You can see there's a couple of zip codes here that are well over 1 million, right? Those very tight areas where you actually have very affluent folks. And I'm going to dive into one of those and show you a demo just quickly here. We'll stop that share and move to this one. This is a tool that we developed called True Wealth, and it can be used for wealth prospecting, or it can be used for prospecting deposit campaigns. And what you can do is search by zip code, city, or county. I'm going to enter zip code 32789, and I'm going to check.
Just let John, Don, I will let you know you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I shared and then I didn't share. Hold on. Visible now, I guess, right?
Yes, sir. Looks good.
Right. So I entered zip code 32789, right? Orange County, Florida. And now I'm going to start. And what this is doing is it's sifting through our database to tell us how many households there are. There's 23,494 in that area, right? And then what I'm going to do, I can then further refine that search by three key components. Investable assets, including the subcomponent interest-bearing assets, which is essentially deposits, income, and then age, right? Those are kind of the three ones, the three key filters. And I'm going to search by interest-bearing assets because we're talking about deposits. And I am going to, if I could find my cursor, enter in 100,000 to 300,000. And then I'm going to scroll down, and then on income, we are going to look at income of 100,000 to 250,000. And then age, we're going to kind of skew a little young here and go 25 to 45, right? We want to get younger with our customer or member base. And I'm going to update the selection. And actually, there's 688 prospects, but I'm going to refine this just a little bit further. And I'm going to say I want to make. I'm not going to choose on gender, though that is another capability. I'm going to make sure they have a phone and email address and that the age is known. When I do that, I have 458 very narrow target to go after, right? And then if I go ahead and I click purchase, right? And I'm not going to confirm the purchase here because there's some PII on the screen. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back and show you what the records look like that I purchased. And if I reshare this screen, I believe I had an additional filter on here that got this down to 238, but you can see there's the name, there's the address, there's the income, there's the total investable assets, and there's the interest-bearing assets, right? So you have all that information. And the way this tool works is you can self-serve on this and generate lists that you can market to. We, Powerlytics, can run this in the background for you and send you these lists. Again, the list would include the household name, the address, the phone number, the email address, so you could run campaigns. And this has proven to be a very powerful tool in helping some credit unions and banks improve their targeted marketing campaigns. So with that, I know we are about a half an hour into this. Joe, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, someone just entered, but I think you kind of went into it, and I don't know if there's any other points you want to bring up. How does Paralytics help CUs get better results from deposit marketing campaigns?
Yeah, I think there's one other area, and I touched on it, right? You can use this tool, right, which essentially makes some simple selections around income, deposits, and age, or we can work with you to build a custom model, right? You would share with us some data, potentially previous campaign performance data, or if let's say you're a credit union, you might share some data on member performance, and we could develop using our data a model that would separate best member lookalikes versus those who don't look as much like a best member. And then you could use that for prospecting. So, the way we work is in a very customized way. We will work with you to develop custom models that can help you target more effectively. Joe, any other questions?
Yeah, we had a couple come in. I'm sending them through you, Don. Why? Well, this is probably for Jamie then. Why would you offer CDs as opposed to other deposit products?
Yeah, it's a great question. One I love answering because I think CDs are very underutilized as a tool. But CDs are about as low risk as it gets from a deposit product standpoint. So you know exactly when the money is coming in, you know exactly when it's maturing, and the predictability is, incredibly valuable for balance sheet management. But it's been one of the most successful ways that our FIs have been expanding their customer or new member base. So there's virtually, little risk or like no risk. And we've seen a lot of, whether it's credit unions opening up their field of membership to new counties, or nationwide, or even creating a digital brand and using CD Valet as a quick way to build out their assets. It's just a very simple product that allows you to kind of walk before you run as you think about, expanding into these new markets. If you see a county through Powerlytics that has a ton of interest bearing and want to go out in that market, you have the ability to do that at virtually no risk. So that's one of my favorite parts and a big part of how our FIs are using it today.
Very good. Don, I have a question that came in for you. How can I use Powerlytics data for loan targeting?
Yeah, great question. It would really be what I described the same way. Typically, the way we do that, it could be through data selection, right? You might select, based on income. We have large banks like First National Bank of Omaha who uses us for loan targeting, really credit card targeting. Or we could build a custom targeting model using our 1,500 data variables, right? That could help. We join that with performance data you have either on your current customers or members or your campaigns, or both of those things. And then we build a custom targeting model that typically is very effective in helping optimize, toward better customers or members and better response and conversion. And so again, would be excited to talk to anyone who's interested in doing that for either deposits or loans.
All right, very good. I have a question for both of you. So Jamie, I'll throw it to you first. Looking ahead the next 12, maybe 24 months, what will be the biggest change in the deposit marketplace?
Yeah, based off of, I guess, in addition to the kind of getting in front of your AI visibility, being able to show up in those places that consumers are searching, it's really it's needing to be agile and flexible, and as much as pricing is very important, speed and timing are becoming just as much. So when the Fed moves rates, or they don't, how can your institution respond quickly? What we like to say is, like, we think of this as almost like a gas station. If you share a corner with 3 other gas stations and you're the last to update your price sign, drivers might go elsewhere. And so as we've seen throughout the past 3 years or so, when rates were super high and then rates were going down, well, now rates are going up. So a lot of banks are getting ahead of it, pricing out the curve. And consumers are demanding a little bit shorter terms because they are getting optimistic. So I think overall, needing to use data to be able to kind of work as I feel like every day is different with headlines, but keeping up and meeting consumers with where they are. And so I think that's a important component in all this, is being just quick and having data at your fingertips to allow you to do so.
Great. Joe, any other questions? If not, I have one final one for our deposit expert, Jamie.
No, go ahead.
So Jamie, you shared a lot of great advice for banks and credit unions. What would be the one nugget that you would leave banks and credit union leaders with around, optimizing their deposit growth strategy?
Yeah, I think that, and I'll kind of focus mostly on CDs since that's my bread and butter, if you will. But I think overall is having like a growth mindset in terms of some of the different products that are out there. So for example, CDs have been sometimes labeled as hot money. But I think in today's day and age, the biggest challenge for FIs is capturing new customers. And so if this is a really low risk, easy way for FIs to go out and get new customers or new members, then once they're through the door, now you can treat them with your other valuable products. And so a lot of times people are like, they're just rate chasers. Well, we've, had FIs have a 92% retention rate on their CD campaign, and they kept those
Wow.
customers from picking up the phone. And so, as I mentioned earlier, like customer service component, show the value of your institution. CDs are now a really easy way to get someone through the door, and then you can start marketing your high yield
That's great.
solutions or some of those other ones. And so, I think that just having a different perspective on ways that you can, bring in the
Yeah.
CD market is that the retail CD market is a 2 trillion. The overall CD market is a $3 trillion industry. That's more than the credit card and auto loan industry combined. So there's a ton of
Wow.
money that is waiting in there. And so they're actually a very effective way to bring in new customers.
Very good. Well, Jamie, hey, thank you so much for joining us today and for all those insights.
Sure.
I definitely learned a lot. I mean, I guess in summary, I talked at the beginning about how critical data is to your strategy. You can see CD Valet is not only a great platform for giving banks and credit unions access to consumers who are looking for better rates, but it's also a great tool set to understand how do you optimize your, kind of your rate, your term, what markets you should go after. And then Powerlytics is a great targeted marketing tool. And I think those solutions can work together to really help you, kind of win in the marketplace. Um, with that, Joe Kosnewski, any other housekeeping? I mean, I know we're going to send a link to folks that'll have the webinar, but